Thank you, everybody. Thank you all for being here today. We have our second international webinar on our study group with Dr. Tamás Fazekas. It's a pleasure to have you here. Dr. Tamás Fazekas is a Daseinsanalyst, pediatrician, and philosopher in Vienna, Austria. As a Daseinsanalyst, he's specialized in neurotic disorders and psychosomatics. He's going to present us a webinar that invites us to look more closely to interpretation on dreams in Daseinsanalysis. So, Dr. Fazekas, feel free to continue. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for this kind invitation. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to talk a little bit about Daseinsanalytic dreams and our way to approach dreams in psychotherapy. It's a great pleasure for me to be here. It's not meant to be a class or a lecture. It's meant to be like a seminar. It's meant to be rather interactive than just a monologue. So please do interrupt me as soon as you have any questions, if you have the feeling that it's too fast, or if you want to have some translations maybe. So just please don't hesitate to interrupt me. And of course, after the seminar, I'll be very happy to answer questions, and also in the future, if you want to send me emails, or you can contact me on Instagram as well. So I'm open for any question regarding Daseinsanalysis. So I would very much like to give you a brief introduction into Daseinsanalytic reading of dreams. I would like to begin with a little bit of a summary of what makes Daseinsanalysis so unique. I'm not sure how much basic knowledge everybody has. It won't take long, but I think it's very important to know that everything we apply in dream analysis refers to Daseinsanalytic theory and the basics. So I've been recently asked what makes Daseinsanalysis unique compared to other therapeutic approaches, and I think there are three things that makes us unique. The first is that we are working as psychotherapists with our clients with so-called existentials. These are universal things, qualities of human beings, which have always determining us as human beings and always will be a part of human life. Martin Heidegger, the philosopher Martin Heidegger, defined these existentials as universal, independent of any culture, independent of any history, independent of any age of human beings. And in Daseinsanalytic practice as psychotherapists, we usually apply 10 of the 10 existentials in our work. So I will briefly refer to that. The second point, which makes us Daseinsanalysts unique, is so-called hermeneutic phenomenology. This is our approach to the world, the approach to everything that shows itself to us, and the question, how can we see things, how can we observe relevant things, and how are we able to disentangle in our everyday life those phenomena that are not authentic from those phenomena that are really important to have an authentic and healthy and happy life. So I would really like you, if you approach dreams in your psychotherapeutic work, to consider hermeneutic phenomenology in three terms. First is to look what shows itself. The second is to listen what's the real content and the non-verbal content of what your client is saying. And of course, to feel, to be with your patient, with your entire human being, and not just with your ears or with your eyes. So I would say this is so important in hermeneutic phenomenology to understand what our client is showing us, look, listen, and feel. And the third quality of Daseinsanalysis is our attitude as therapists while having a client in our office, which is called serenity. serenity is an attitude which is much more than just remaining relaxed and listen to our clients. Serenity is an attitude where we are very focused to each phenomenon that shows itself during the therapeutic relationship. And we are at the same time focusing on all the existentials that show themselves or that don't show themselves. So those existentials that are missing or maybe reduced, and trying not to interpret, not to manipulate our client, but really focus on the phenomena as such. So I think there are three things that makes Daseinsanalysis unique. These are these 10 existentials: hermeneutic, phenomenology, and serenity. Most of you might be aware of the fact that Daseinsanalysis is applied philosophical anthropology. So we do apply philosophical insights from existential philosophy, beginning with Kierkegaard or Husserl or Martin Heidegger. We try to apply all these findings from existential philosophers to our work as psychotherapists. So we want, of course, in the end, to be our clients, to help our clients. You know, we want to apply all this philosophical knowledge in order to help our clients. I think it's important to emphasize we do not require all the candidates to become true philosophers. I really don't think that it's necessary to be a philosopher to be a good Daseinsanalyst. We need to be aware a little bit of our roots and the basics of philosophical anthropology, but it's not really complicated, to be honest. And I really don't think that you have to read all the books from Martin Heidegger to be a good Daseinsanalyst. Basically, we do refer to one book of Martin Heidegger if we talk about existentials, the so-called universal existentials. This is Being in Time, which has been published for the first time in 1927 in German language, which has been translated several times in many languages. And in Being in Time, Martin Heidegger tried to analyze our everyday life. So if you have the chance to read to Being in Time, which is not necessary to become a good Daseinsanalyst, but if you have time and want to read it, please always be aware of the fact that the philosopher Heidegger wanted to analyze our everyday life. He didn't want to create something theoretical. He didn't want any elite thinking that nobody understands. He really wanted to approach our everyday life. And he wanted to explain why we have certain relationships in everyday life, why we're happy sometimes and why we get ill sometimes. So this is the aim of Being in Time. This is so important to emphasize. This is not a theoretical book. Being in Time is really a very practical book, which we have, of course, to apply in our psychotherapeutic relationship. So the main topic of Being in Time is, of course, Dasein. Martin Heidegger wants to explain what Dasein is. And just to make sure that we all agree, Dasein is a technical term that cannot be translated in any language. There have been many attempts in Hungarian language to translate it, even in English and French, of course, but definitely not a single language was able to convey all what the German word Dasein conveys. And it's much more than being here. It's much more than being now. It's much more than being there. This tiny little word da means something like being present with our wholeness as a whole human being, with all the things that have affected us in the past and affect us now and will affect us in the future. So I very much like to translate Dasein as presence, like being present, but not in present in the meaning of present time, but presence as being here with your wholeness in all your meanings in our life that we call world. So let me just give a brief overview over the 10, in my opinion, that's my subjective choice. That's nothing dogmatic. And yes, this is what I would like to emphasize. Daseinsanalyse is not a dogmatic approach to psychotherapy. So there is nothing that's forbidden, you know, there are no terms that we forbid to use. We really don't use the term unconsciousness, we don't use the term ego, we don't use the term transference, but of course it's not forbidden to talk about it, and we have our concepts and our answers that are probably a little bit deeper, more phenomenologic than these terms. So I want to emphasize that everything that we'll discuss today is definitely not dogmatic. So I don't pretend this is the one and only true answer to, and the only true approach to Daseinsanalysis, because we are guided as Daseinsanalysts by the phenomena that show themselves to us. And it's not us that guide phenomena. I don't guide a patient, you know, I'm not a guide that shows the way to health. Phenomena show the way to health, and I'm just helping, you know, the client to be able to be open for authentic phenomena that are important to be healthy. So in my opinion, the most important 10 existentials are as follow. Being in the world is what I mentioned before, the fact that that world is not just the physical world around us, the people, the actual people around us and the actual space around us, but much more, everything that has a meaning to us from our past, our memories, our plans for the future. This implies everything what we call our world. So our world constantly changes, obviously. My world is now already different compared to my world 15 minutes ago. And it will be different after this session in 2 hours. So it's important to have this plasticity in mind of a world, that this is constantly changing as soon as we interact with something in our world, be it human beings or anything that shows, any phenomenon that shows itself. Being attuned is another existential, which is very important, especially analyzing dreams. We're always asking for feelings, for attunements. In dreams, being with is the existential that focuses on relationships, because every human being is in some kind of relationship with other human beings. It's not just a question whether these relationships are an authentic possibility of each human being, or whether our relationships are not corresponding to our possibilities, but probably they are just relationships that we chose to please our parents, to please our environment, but not to live according to our own possibilities. Being free is an important existential. As human beings, we are always free, even if we are in prison, even if we are not able to move. We have an existential freedom, which is really important. Without agreeing on this existential freedom, no psychotherapy would be possible. Because many people have the feeling that they are not able to escape from their disease, from their psychopathology, because they believe that they are determined by some trauma in the past, or some neurologic disease, or some brain tumor, which may be the case, but we are not determined by all these findings. A human being is always free to make a choice to live authentically or not. So being free is the explanation why psychotherapy is working at all. Being open, this is what I mentioned before. Every human being has a very small range of authentic possibilities. This is what we were born with. And we have to learn, or we have to take care every day that we remain open just for those things that we are authentically able to do, and not to focus on those things that are not authentic. And here dreams help us a lot, because usually we see in dreams only things that are authentically us, that are authentically belonging to our possibilities. And this is something which is definitely more difficult to recognize in waking life, because we are distracted by other people, by being busy, by working. We are so much distracted in everyday life that it's sometimes really difficult to realize what belongs to my authentic possibilities and what belongs to the realm of man self, as Heidegger puts it, the general self, which is definitely not authentic, but might be important to live as well. We are not saying that we have to live authentically all the day, but we do say that it does make you sick if you exclusively live in the man self, in the inauthentic world. This is something that will make sick every human being, because we have to live to a certain extent authentically. So being open for your authentic possibilities. Being in body is important to ask in dreams. Many people forget about it. We're talking about psychosomatics. Psychosomatics is definitely a strong field of Dasein's analytical application. We are looking actively for being in body, how the body shows in dreams. We are actively asking for the parts of the body if the dreamer doesn't remember. So did you smell something? Did you hear any other voices? Was it cold? Was it hot? What about your feet? Were you standing? Were you flying? Were you sitting? So we actively ask for all these existentials when analyzing dreams. But it's not a checklist, and this is what I addressed with this attitude of serenity. So I'm not checking like in an aeroplane, a pilot, the 10 existentials. This is something that we would learn in Daseinsanalyse, and we do exercise it many times during our formation as Daseinsanalysts. So it is automatically in my mind, and I automatically realize when some patient has a reduced existential to some extent. We realize it immediately without having to check it separately. Being thrown is an existential that shows us that we have not chosen everything that we are. So there are some things that we were born with, like the date, the year when we were born, the historical epoch, the country, the countryside, the language that we were born with. This belongs to our thrownness. Of course, our body, the color of our hairs, our genes, everything which is physical about us is something that belongs to our thrownness. This is important to consider and to know, but it's also important to know that everything that belongs to our thrownness does not determine us, because we are being free. So we have the freedom to choose whatever we want to live from our thrownness. For example, the language, you can change your language, you can change your culture. Yes, you can even maybe change parts of your body. But it's important to do it authentically. But it's a matter of fact that we get born with so many things that we did not choose ourselves. Then, of course, we have being towards death. This is something that we do address in dream analysis actively. So if death is not a topic in the dream, I will definitely ask the dreamer, what about, did you have fear of dying? Did you have any anxiety? Did you think of death in the dream? Because it is an existential, and every human being considers the fact that we will be dead sooner or later. And I think this is so important to look for it actively, because it always shows us that we have no time to postpone living authentically. And this is what we convey to our clients. You don't have time to wait 2 or 3 years and to postpone it. Maybe in 2 years I will have time to look for my authentic possibilities of being. No, you have to go for it immediately, because every second that you don't live according to your possibilities will make you even more sick, and eventually you might be dead without having lived authentically. And then we have, of course, being in space and being in time. These are existentials that refer to our physical environment. This is something that we do ask in our dreams as well. Are you in a room which is closed? Are you, in a field outside in the nature? Are you looking at mountains? Are you swimming in a lake? So this is being in space. And in terms of being in time, we do ask the dreamers, how old were you when you were dreaming? There are many dreams when we are younger or older than in reality in waking life. And this is a very important fact to consider when analyzing dreams, whether the dreamer is actually in his world, living in the here and now, or maybe the dreamer is living in the past because he is looking for something that might have got lost in the past. Well, and finally, the last existential is care. We do care for our own Dasein. That's important to know that our Dasein is afraid of not being da. So we are definitely afraid of not being authentic. And this is what Heidegger calls care. So we do care about the state of our Dasein. And to our Dasein, being with is included. So care always includes others as well. So we can only care for ourselves if we care for others. And this is maybe a very, very important message, maybe the first take-home message of today. We are not able to understand our unique, individual, authentic possibilities of life without other human beings. In contrast, we do believe that we need other people to understand ourselves. We need other people, we need authentic relationships in order to understand our authentic possibilities. So this is a danger, and this has been misunderstood in the last decades, that Daseinsanalyse is very egoistic because we just focus on the existentials of each individual. But the point is that being with always belongs to authentic Dasein. As soon as we don't live authentic relationships, we are not authentically us. So this is everything, and we will go through in the end we will go through a dream, and you will see that. And this is what I would like to encourage you. If you have a dream with one of your clients, please consider these 10 existentials, and you will see that first, every dream contains all of these 10 existentials, and second, it will be really helpful if you realize that one existential is reduced, is limited in a dream, because this will help the dreamer as well to realize that she or he is forgetting about one important existential or possibility. So dream analysis. I mentioned our theory of psychopathology and Daseinsanalyse. We assume that every human being has a small range of possibilities. Nobody is able to do everything. We have our talents, we have something that we are good in, and we have something that we are not able to do. Irrespective of how hard we try, how much we learn, how much we train, there are things that we'll never be able to do. So it's quite a small range of possibilities that we authentically have. And this will take a lifetime. So this is a lifetime commitment that we have to look for our authentic possibilities, so we can be sure that we will never reach the moment where we can say, all right, now I have found all my authentic possibilities. Now I'm ready. I know what is authentically me. So this is a lifelong project that will never be finished. So maybe one day before you die, you will encounter a completely new authentic possibility of life. However, if we live exclusively according to the expectations of others, and forget completely about our authentic possibilities, then we get ill. This is our theory of psychopathology, because our Dasein cares of itself, it cares about living authentically. And if we ignore it, because we are free, so as human beings, I'm free to choose a pathologic life. So basically, we choose to be ill. That's okay maybe for a short period, but if you choose to be ill for your whole life, then you will develop symptoms, then you will start suffering. And this is where you will probably need another human being to help you getting out of this. This is important to know, because this is something that's more difficult to see in everyday life, and much more easy to show the client by dreams. We can show the client in the dream, look, this is an authentic possibility, this is your attunement is positive here in the dream, and look at this possibility in the dream that you, in a waking life, you do every day, for example, a job or a kind of relationship, and look how unhappy it makes you in the dream. So it's much easier to discover the difference between authenticity and inauthenticity in dreams compared to waking life. So mostly, this is my personal experience. The key that makes a change in our therapeutic relationship lies in dream. Mostly, it's one key dream where our clients used to say sessions later, wow, do you know, this was the dream that opened my eyes and when I realized what goes wrong in my life. So it's important to emphasize the meaning of the setting. In Daseinsanalyse, we emphasize the importance of the couch. So we do encourage every client, if possible, to lay down on the couch. Because, when you are sitting in front of each other, you have certain control. You want maybe to impress the other one. You want to show how smart you are as a therapist, or you want to show that you are a good client. So this is something that disturbs our ability to, hermeneutic phenomenology, to look, listen, and feel authentically, without manipulation, without interpretation. This is much easier for both. It's much easier for the client to allow the phenomena to show themselves as they are without manipulation. And of course, for the therapist as well. I don't want to be distracted by certain things. I want to focus in my serenity just on the phenomena that show in nothing else. And including, of course, my own interpretations. So we have to be careful to skip all our personal and private associations and interpretations, and just to focus on the phenomena and all the existentials that show in the therapeutic relationship. So here we have, of course, got to know the history of our patient. It's impossible to analyze dreams without knowing the patient. So this is what I really don't like. If people are analyzing dreams just from the literature, or from even maybe of a patient that I don't know from supervision, for example, it's really impossible to see the phenomena if you don't know the history of the patient, maybe the diagnosis or the symptoms or the reason why she or he started psychotherapy. And of course, the history of the therapeutic relationship. It's a great difference whether a client is dreaming in the 3rd session or in the 30th session, because there's a lot of history with with the therapeutic relationship that makes a difference in the dreams. So of course, your client will have different dreams after 30 sessions of psychotherapy compared to the beginning of psychotherapeutic relationship. And of course, you will know much more about your client, and you will be able to realize earlier and quicker which possibility is new and authentic, and to differentiate it from inauthentic possibilities. So I need to know the history of the dreamer before I start to analyze the dream. And here again, we encounter, the existential of being in time. Being in time is so important in Daseinsanalysis. I have to know after what time the dreamer was dreaming. One more basic remark, we are convinced in Daseinsanalysis that every human being is dreaming every night. So we're absolutely sure that everybody is dreaming every night. But the point is to focus on our dreams and on the importance of our dreams and to remember them. Usually our clients are telling us, yeah, no, I'm sure, I promise you, I never dream. I never had dream. Some of the clients say, yes, I used to dream when I was younger as a child, but I'm sure I don't remember anything. And others tell, yes, I know 1 week ago I had a dream, but I don't remember anything, zero. I'm not able to remember my dreams. And then after some sessions of Daseinsanalysis, and we're really asking every session, well, did you have a dream yesterday or this week? Is there anything that you remember? By focusing and explaining to our clients why dreams are so important, they will, at some point, remember the dreams. And most of the clients are surprised. Well, I didn't know that I'm dreaming. I didn't know that I'm able to remember my dreams. This is just about our focus. If you are able to convey to your clients the importance of dreams, then they will remember it, I promise you. And I do recommend at the very first session of Daseinsanalysis to take, a little booklet and a pen at the side of the bed, and in the middle of the night, immediately after having had a dream, I encourage my clients to make just a short notes. 3 or 4 words are enough to remember it the next day. And then when you wake up, you look at this 3 or 4 words, and you immediately realize, yes, of course, I had a dream, and now I remember the details. And then you can write down a more elaborate version of your dream. So do encourage your clients to write these dreams down, and I will promise you, they will tell you over the course of your therapeutic relationship, listen, I'm dreaming more and more, and all of a sudden I'm dreaming every week. Suddenly I'm dreaming every day. So this will increase automatically if you emphasize the meaning. And of course, you have to be convinced yourself that it's important. So you must authentically believe that this is a precious way to authentic possibilities. And by the way, this is the reason why we do require a lot of teaching analysis as a candidate. When you are training as a Daseinsanalyst, you have to go through some personal analysis as well and dream analysis as well, because you have to feel and you have to get this experience how powerful dreams are in our everyday life. So this is not only true for psychopathologists, this is not only true for suffering clients, this is true for every human being. We can always discover our own authentic possibilities in our dreams. And so this is something that you have to experience yourself during teaching analysis. All right, so you may have noticed that I try to avoid the term dream analysis. Of course, you remember we are not dogmatic. It's not forbidden to use the term dream analysis. But in reality, I would prefer reading dreams. You remember, I started with hermeneutic phenomenology to look first. We have to learn, and this is what Edmund Husserl has showed us impressively 100 years ago, that we have to learn to look. We have forgot what it means to look at phenomena because we are immediately trying to interpret. We are immediately looking for causalities and meanings, and we forget about just looking. So that's why I would call it rather reading dreams in Daseinsanalysis, because we have to learn to look purely at the phenomena of the dream and nothing else. But of course, maybe sometimes I use the term dream analysis as well, because it's commonly known. All right, so basically it was Martin Heidegger who first emphasized the meaning of hermeneutic phenomenology in reading dreams. This was in his lecture 1941 about Hölderlin, the German poet Hölderlin. 1941, he wrote for the very first time that we need dreams to understand the real presence of the possible. So I fear the German quote, which is not so important, but he realized 1941, after having written Being in Time, that our possibilities, which we don't know. We don't know all our possibilities, maybe some of them, but we will never know all of them until our death. But they are more likely realized in dreams than in our waking life. So this is what Heidegger published in 1941 for the first time. And he emphasized that dreams show us the richness of life, that we encounter much more phenomena in dreams than we encounter in everyday life, because we are so distracted in everyday life by traffic, by driving a car. I'm not able to focus on the richness of life when I'm driving a car. I have to focus on the other cars, to focus on the traffic lights. I have to focus on my watch to be in time. So it's impossible to understand the richness of life during waking life. And I think this is a powerful message, that we lose a lot of phenomena when we are awake, and we are only able to understand the richness and the beauty of life when we are dreaming. So this idea of Martin Heidegger was then elaborated by Medard Boss. He published it in 1953 about dream analysis and the understanding of reading dreams as it has been applied by, let's say, modern Daseinsanalysis. You may know the history of Daseinsanalysis, started with Ludwig Binswanger, who, of course, he was a pupil of Sigmund Freud. I mean, he wrote a book in 1930, A Traum und Existenz, Dream and Existence. So, of course, Binswanger was aware of the importance of dreams in their connection with existence. But Binswanger, in my opinion, but this is something that we could discuss, it's not dogmatic, it's my personal opinion. I think that Binswanger didn't see the importance of the existentials yet, and didn't see so much the difference between existence and Dasein, which is a huge difference. And that's why the importance of dreams for Binswanger was, in my opinion, a different one than with Medard Boss. And so this is probably something in 1953 that was, the starting point of reading Daseinsanalytic dreams as we do it today. I'm not saying that Binswanger's approach is wrong. I'm just saying that this was historically the first one, our roots where everything began, and that has been developing, of course, and we are further developing Daseinsanalysis in the 21st century as well. Basically, if we look at the existentials, in dreams, we are open, so being open, for different things than in waking life. So dreaming is, if you want to define what means dreaming is a way of being open in our existing. Existing means standing out in the clearing of being. And so dreaming is a way of openness in our existing, in our standing out. So this is a unique way of being open. This is a way of openness that we don't have in waking life, and which makes possible that phenomena get compressed, if you wish. They get concentrated. You get what I described as richness and beauty of life. You get much more phenomena packed in a moment than in everyday life. So this density of phenomena is unique in dreams. So your world becomes more dense and more concentrated in dreams compared to everyday life, where, if you wish, our authenticity is diluted, by our being inauthentic, or by our environment and by other rules that we have to obey and to follow in everyday life. So yes, there are similarities between dreaming life and waking life, and this is maybe the second take-home message of today, that we do take dreams as seriously as everything in waking life. There is no difference at all. We do assume that what the dreamer tells us, our client is telling us, is as real as it is in waking life. So our dreaming world is as authentic or inauthentic as our waking world is. It's definitely the same world. In contrast, in dreams, we might understand the world of our client even better and more clearly than we are able to understand it in waking life. So this is the second take-home message. Please take these dreams for real, because as a human being, we don't change with our existentials. We have all our existentials during dreams as well. And we are in the very same world. So if I want to understand the world of my client, I must ask about dreams. Otherwise, I will not be able to understand the world of my client in its wholeness. So here starts a so-called hermeneutic circle, which means I am able to understand the waking life of my client only through the dreams. But in turn, of course, in waking life, during our psychotherapeutic session, of course, I understand the dream better. We understand the new possibilities when analyzing it or reading it in our therapeutic relationship. So, and then in turn, this will change the way that next night our client will be dreaming. So this is a hermeneutic circle that is important to consider. And so I do encourage you to take a lot of time for analyzing dreams, because to understand these 10 existentials in the dream takes a lot of time. You have got to go through the dream at least 3 or 4 times to look for all the details regarding all the existentials, predominantly the attunement. It's so important to understand how the feelings change in the course of the dream, predominantly regarding the past history of your client, to understand the context of the dream. So we have to repeat the dream several times to understand the details. Then you have, of course, got to ask for the associations, the spontaneous ideas of the dreamer. What do you think? What does this dream mean for you? And then, of course, you have to ask the dreamer, wow, look, we have discovered a new possibility in the dream. Do you know a situation in your waking life which is maybe similar to the situation in the dream, but where you have probably or presumably reacted in a different way? And so this is where we start this hermeneutic circle during our therapeutic session. So the first is look, listen, feel. We have to understand all the details, all the phenomena in the dream. Repeat the dream several times. And then go for the hermeneutic circle. Do you know this from everyday life? And if yes, could you imagine that you live it in everyday life? And most of the clients will say, no, certainly not. I'm sure I'm not able to live this in reality, but that's not possible, not necessary at all. It's just important to see the phenomenon and to feel it. So we're not talking about rational analysis. I think the point is that the dreamer has to understand with her or his whole Dasein what the dream means in terms of her or his existence. So usually we take 2 entire sessions, 2 times 50 minutes for one single dream, because it's really usually it takes 50 minutes to understand all the details, maybe a little bit the associations of our dreamer, but the hermeneutic circle is usually taking 50 minutes as well. And because this is which will start the process, and you know, usually clients return to important dreams, and 10 sessions later she or he will tell you, look, I remember the dream that we had 10 sessions ago, and yes, and then I realized that the dream changed my life, and then suddenly I had the next dream, which already was affected by everything that we have been discussing in our therapeutic session. So please consider the hermeneutic circle, which is, I think, important to see. This is not an interpretation. We're not manipulating. I'm not giving any clues. You know, I don't interpret anything. Many clients want me. The first question is, doctor, what does it mean? What does the dream mean? And so I have no idea what it means. I really don't know. I just can tell you that we will find all the authentic phenomena that are important for your life, but I have no idea what it means. And it's not important what it means. And by the way, it's not even important whether the client tells you the truth or not. So this is not an inquiry like at the police station. You know, many clients tell me, oh, I'm so sorry, I don't remember it exactly. Is it a problem if I just remember one sentence of the dream? I promise you, you can take 50 minutes to analyze one sentence of a dream. And sometimes my clients used to tell me, you know that I was lying when I told you about the dream. It wasn't my dream at all. I just read it in the internet or in any book. So I don't care if it was a lie. The discussion about it and the hermeneutic circle, this was real. This was authentic. This is phenomenology, everything that shows. And if it's a lie that shows, it's even a phenomenon. And then we can decide whether this is authentic or not. So the problem, whether a dream is true or not, is not present in Daseinsanalysis. Okay, so basically, hermeneutic phenomenology is not interpreting, we're just asking questions. Of course, we have an assumption. We have, by being trained, by being serene, by thinking of all the existentials at the same time, I do think that we will observe new phenomena more quickly than our clients. And this makes us ask, you know, so if I have the assumption that I might have noticed something new, then I ask a question in this direction. And most clients will be very surprised. What is that the question? And then they realize that this was a small detail in the dream that they forgot or they just didn't realize. So by asking questions, we start to approach together in a relationship with our client, in a therapeutic relationship. We are approaching authentic phenomena. And of course, it could turn out that the way that I'm asking is not approaching an authentic phenomenon. And then we have to realize, if the dreamer tells me, no, that's absolutely wrong, and I'm absolutely sure that this is not true, then I just let go. I will not tell the dreamer, wow, this is resistance. I know that this is resistance, and I know that you're just trying to hide something from me. I will accept it and say, all right, so just let's remember it, let's not forget it, but for the moment, it doesn't seem to be authentic. All right, so existing and asking questions. And of course, if a dreamer denies some interpretation or some phenomenon, then we will remember it, but we will not stress our client. All right, so it is a way of being in the world. This is what I already mentioned, and it helps us to deconstruct. And this is, you know, the method of phenomenology, is to first deconstruct all assumptions that we have in our current life and all the spontaneous associations that we have and maybe causalities that we are looking for, to deconstruct and to reach the level of the pure phenomenon, which is really maybe the hardest work that we have to do as a therapist. To put away everything that's disturbing, which is not authentic, which is interpretation, which is causality, which is education, which is man-self, the inauthentic self. And then to get to the phenomenon as such, and then we have to discuss it with our client or agree with our client whether this phenomenon is authentic or not. So deconstructing all the interpretations that every human being has caused by our past history. All right. So we are approaching these pictures, and we take at least 2 sessions for each dream, if possible. Do you have any questions so far? Because now I would then go to another topic. Well, same the dreams, of course, but there are different types of dreams. So this is basically, in my opinion, the most important in a nutshell, you know. So reading dreams in Daseinsanalyse in a nutshell. So I think this is a brief summary of how we approach dreams in contrast to other approaches, you know. So I'm not looking for any hidden drives, like, for example, psychoanalysis. We are not looking for some hidden sexual fantasies. If a dream is about sexuality, of course, we talk about it, and we do ask about sexuality and about being in body and intimate relationships. Of course, we talk about that, but we don't assume that there are any symbols. We don't believe in symbols in dreams, because we just look for phenomena, and we don't look for something that is a symbol for something else. So we don't believe in a world which is behind the phenomena. So we really take the phenomenon as serious as it is. It's a phenomenon and nothing else, not more and nor less. So we don't look for anything which is hidden in terms of drives that are unconscious, is hiding away, and can only be understood in dreams, because we do think that this is real life as waking life. And we do not believe that dreams have any function. We do not believe that we need dreams to function in everyday life. We don't believe that we need dreams to process trauma. This is, you know, like psychoanalytic theory. It has been assumed that we need our dreams, you know, to process trauma in our everyday life, which we are not able to process during waking life. So there is no functionality in our dreams. Like there's no functionality in my waking life. So it's just my being in the world as always, without a special function. And there are no typical dreams. So there's nothing where I could say, okay, I know this dream, I know this type of dream. All of my patients with this or that pathology have the same kind of dreams. So this is definitely a misunderstanding of phenomena. This is why the same dream with the same 5 words will mean something completely different in different clients, and probably will mean something completely different 1 month later. So if a client has the same dream 1 month later, I'm equally interested in it. And I do, and because most of the clients, no, you know, this is the 10th time that I'm having the same dream. It's always the same. I won't tell you that. It's always the same. So no, because your world is a different one. Your world is constantly changing. So the very same dream will mean something completely different 1 day later, 1 week later, 1 month later. So there are no typical dreams. And yes, and we don't talk about dream work, you know, like psychoanalysis. So this is not a work where we process or we hide or we dig, you know, in the unconscious in depth to encounter something hidden. So this is not work. I mean, it's Dasein, you know. Dreaming is Dasein as it is in waking life, and it's we don't have any dream work that we have to do. Any questions so far? Yes, please.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone has a question, but if people wanted to type in Portuguese, I can translate. And also, if you want to speak in Portuguese, I can translate as well. I don't know if anyone has a question so far. Gustavo? Microphone, Gustavo.
Foi mal. Então, eu Podia perguntar em inglês direto para ele, mas eu vou perguntar em português para todo mundo entender e depois você traduzir. Que assim, eu queria saber que tipo de pergunta que ele faz para trabalhar o sonho, já que na psicanálise, na analítica, é tão diferente a forma como isso é feito. Porque, por exemplo, vamos supor que você sonha que você está dirigindo um carro. Um dos jeitos de você tentar encontrar um simbolismo para isso no Jung é você perguntar para o cara, por exemplo, mas se você estivesse dirigindo uma moto, como é que seria esse sonho? Isso ia mudar muito? Então, é uma tentativa de encontrar alguma simbologia, como ele estava falando, que é exatamente o que ele não faz. Então, eu quero saber que tipo de pergunta que é feita para trabalhar o fenômeno do sonho em si.
Okay, so Gustavo are asking, which kind of questions do you make when you are trying to read a dream? Because he mentioned that Jung, when they are trying to analyze the dreams, he changed the person from what they are doing. If you are driving a car, what we're feeling if you are driving a motorcycle, or he changed the dreams content, you know? And he asking directly, which kind of questions do you make when you try to read about dreams?
Thank you very much for this question, because this is really important to demonstrate the different approach in psychotherapy. Let's remain with the example of the car. Yeah, that's a good example. You know, the dreamer dreams, I'm driving a car. So my first question is, are you alone in the car, or is there anybody with you? Are you the driver, or is there anyone else the driver, or is the car driving by itself? Is there no driver? What is the road like? Is it, like straight, are there curves? Do you see the end of the road? Is it a mountainous way? Because I'm checking immediately the existentials. I'm asking, are you holding, the wheel in terms of being in body, so do you feel the wheel? Do you hear anything outside? Do you smell anything from the motor? What are your attunements? Are you afraid? Are you driving too fast? Are you happy because you're in the landscape? So I'm checking just the details, and I promise you will encounter a very surprising detail. There will be one detail which is certainly surprising. For example, and this is what I had half a year ago, a dream, where the dreamer told me that, yes, the car was driving alone. So the dreamer was sitting not on the wheel side. The wheel side was empty. There was not a single person. The dreamer was alone, which is pretty negative in terms of being with the relationship, completely alone in the car. And the car was driving alone, and the dreamer was just sitting there, afraid, of course, full of anxiety. But eventually nothing happened and everything went well. So I promise you that you will find a surprise when, just by checking the existentials and just by checking the details. And you don't need to ask, a different setting. What if you would be a motorcycle, or what if you would be driving in a city? Because we just want to see the pure phenomena in this one sentence: I'm driving a car. And I promise you will encounter a surprise and a new possibility of living. For example, this patient was a manager, a CEO of a big company, a very tough guy, and he understood that he's able to trust this guideless car. He's able to not to jump out of the car, or to suicide, or to go to the other side and want. No, he was remaining like this, and the car drove and nothing happened. So this was a new possibility of living for him, to realize that he doesn't need his hands on the wheel. He doesn't need to steer his life. He will survive anyway.
Nice example. It seems to me that you are always looking for the existential, right?
Not exclusively, because it's good to demonstrate. But I think I already mentioned, I'm not checking. It's not a checklist. The existentials, they are, when you have 6 years training in Daseinsanalyse, then you automatically realize, without reflecting on these existentials, I don't intentionally look for these existential, they automatically, show up, and I automatically realize that there is something missing or something too much in terms of existentials. Just for teaching purpose, it's good to demonstrate, but in reality, in our psychotherapeutic practice, of course, we don't check it every time.
Okay. So
any more questions?
Questions? There was on the chat. Tamás, do you usually always ask about clients, patients' dreams, or you expect them to bring them by themselves, the dreams? You ask for them?
At the very first session, at the very first encounter of psychotherapy, I explain what Daseinsanalysis is and what we are able to do and we are not able to do. What's the difference to CBT? If you just want to get rid of your symptoms, then please have a nice day and look for a CBT. So I do explain what Daseinsanalysis is, and I do explain the importance of dreams. And I do encourage at the very first session to buy a booklet with a pen and put it to the bed. And then I'm waiting 3 or 4 sessions. And it depends a bit on therapeutic relationship, but at the maximum of 5 sessions, I will actively ask, by the way, you remember 5 sessions ago, we said that dreams are important. What about dreams? And they, of course, will say, no dreams. No, certainly, I would have told you, but no dreams, no, nothing. And then after maybe 2 or 3 sessions, I ask again, well, by the way, any dreams? Or maybe in the middle of the therapeutic session, I might say, wow, this is a difficult question. Usually, we are not able to understand these questions during waking life. We are only able to understand this kind of questions in our dreams. And then usually the clients reply, yes, no, still no dreams, I promise, still no dreams. But yes, I'm stubborn and I do ask actively for dreams after, not every session, but after a certain time, because at a certain state of therapeutic relationship, you need dreams to understand the being in the world of your clients. It's, in my opinion, impossible to understand the world without any dreams. So you will have to get these dreams.
Okay, this is a big statement. How long have you been with a client that doesn't bring any dreams, Tamás? Like 10 sessions, 15 sessions?
10, yeah. After 10 sessions, when you all constantly are asking for dreams, I promise you, after 10 sessions, you will be surprised. Wow, imagine, I'm dreaming. I didn't know I'm dreaming.
First you ask, then you beg for a dream. Please bring a dream.
Exactly. Any more questions? Okay, so let's briefly check out. I have planned to be talking maybe 90 minutes, so maybe 20 minutes more. And then you can decide whether you want to analyze a dream. I brought dozens of dreams. I have so many dreams here. So if you want to look at the dream or if you have any questions, we can decide in 20 minutes what to do, right?
Okay, then you can talk and then we can, have a conversation about what we just learned and maybe have a dream read, analyze it.
Okay. So I have picked couple of topics that I wanted to discuss here with you. There are dreams where, yes, and maybe this is what I have maybe forgot to mention, that in psychopathology, I mentioned that we believe that you get ill if your existentials are not lived authentically according to your possibilities, if your existentials are limited too much or are too broad, for your possibilities. And this is, so we assume that every existential is pathologic when you get ill. So there is not a single existential, and this was the initial assumption of Voss. He thought that there is one typical existential which is ill that makes a typical psychopathology as for example, being with relationships is limited, so you get depressed. So depression is typically a disease of a limited existential called being with. And this is what we don't believe anymore. We do believe that all our existentials are affected at the same time. And if you're ill, if you're suffering, then all your existentials are deviated to a certain extent and not at the authentic position. So then this is true for dreams as well. So all dreams affect all the existentials, but there are dreams where one existential might prevail. And for example, there, of course, and you may have seen my video on YouTube about nightmares, and we really do believe that nightmares are the most important dreams because they're so spectacular. You understand your anxieties and your this care of your Dasein. You know, your Dasein is afraid of change. So in nightmares, it's the most impressive way to understand authenticity. So they're pretty frequent dreams with anxieties. And why is anxiety so important for us? And, you know, usually our clients don't want to talk about it. They don't, you know, some clients apologize. Sorry, doctor, I had a nightmare. It was so awful. I woke up sweating and crying. I really don't want to talk about it. Of course, I accept it, but maybe one session later, I come back to it. Oh, didn't you say that you had a nightmare? Maybe we can talk about it today. Because according to Martin Heidegger, there is a triangle of anxiety, guilt, and conscience. So anxiety is, according to Martin Heidegger, important to focus on our authentic possibilities. According to Martin Heidegger, we get afraid as soon as we don't live authentically. This makes sense, in my opinion. And this is why it's so important for me. If a dreamer tells me, oh, I was so afraid in the dream, then I'm happy. I know, all right, now we can understand why the dreamer, or in which extent the dreamer is living inauthentically. So anxiety is definitely a key, not the only one. I don't say that anxiety, of course, the other way around, love, you know, or sexuality, erotic feelings are equally important as anxiety, because it's always about the same topic, to understand where are the individual possibilities of being with. So as soon as we don't live authentically, we get the feeling of guilt. This in the triangle, Heidegger's triangle, the second part. So we feel guilty for not living authentically. And this feeling of guilt is this word, according to Martin Heidegger, in German, Schuld. This can be translated as well as debt, as we owe it. You know, if we owe something to somebody else, we owe it to ourselves to be ourselves, to be authentic. So if we don't live authentically, we have this feeling of guilt or debt, that we owe ourselves something that we are not living. And in order to understand that there's something going wrong, we have conscience. Conscience is something that wakes us up. Heidegger says that it's like bells, you know, like bells ringing. This is our conscience. So we feel, oh, it's a really awful conscience. Something must be wrong, but I have no idea why. And this shows in dreams. So basically, when we encounter anxiety or nightmares, we know that we have reached in our therapeutic relationship a point where we're getting very close to the question, what is authentic, what is inauthentic. So this makes me as a therapist really happy. You know, if somebody tells me I had a nightmare, I say, congratulations, I think this is a successful psychotherapy. Because then we will encounter the really important phenomena. Then, of course, which is you know, I'm a pediatrician. I'm working a lot with children, and there are, of course, dreams, either by children, and this is what we have to emphasize, and not just as pediatricians, that when we were born, so at the moment of birth, you remember proneness as an existential. At the moment of birth, we have all our authentic possibilities of life. We don't get new ones in the course of our lives. We have a range of possibilities that we will never understand entirely until our death. However, we have them from the beginning. So if you wish, we are most authentic at the beginning of our life. A toddler, a baby, a newborn baby is absolutely authentic because it has no education yet. It has no environment yet. It has no manipulation yet. So a baby is able to live authentically as never again in the future. So of course we know that the babies are dreaming as well. We are already dreaming during pregnancy. This is what we know. An unborn fetus is already dreaming, and the babies are dreaming, and children are dreaming. And this is really important in child psychotherapy. I don't know if anybody of you is working with children, but I know that in Brazil there's a strong tradition of child psychotherapy and child Daseinsanalyse. We do work with dreams with children as well. And I brought along here a couple of dreams, here from children as young as I have here at the age of 3. And yes, this is 4, sorry, a 4-year-old child had a dream here. And however, we do believe that everything that the child is telling us is sort of true and authentic as well, or not, or maybe according to the parents. So this is something that we will definitely be able to distinguish. And of course, even more exciting is, I think, when we dream as adults, we dream that we are children. So that's also a frequent challenge when a client tells me, look, I dreamt that I was 15. So here again, we look, of course, for being in body. Well, what did you notice on your body? What was different? Because sometimes we dream ourselves as children. Our body is 15, but our face is 50. So it remains the same. So this is something where we have to take a look closely at the existentials, even when talking with a child at the age of 4. Because we don't believe in some classical psychological models of development, because we don't believe that there is, an envelope. You can only develop something which has an envelope, which is wrapped, as if a human being would have a wrapping around when it's born, and then we have to unwrap it, like a present. And then maybe at the end we find the real human being, and this is development. So in Daseinsanalyse, it's rather the other way around, that we believe that we are fully developed at the moment of our birth. We have all our authentic possibilities, but then it's our job and it's our responsibility as human beings to preserve these possibilities and to live according to these authentic possibilities, and not to be disturbed by all the influences of our environment. Of course, always in respect of authentic relationships. So that's not an egoistic trip that we recommend to people. We have always got to learn about ourselves by other human beings. But our developmental theory in Daseinsanalyse is definitely unique and definitely different than classical psychological approaches. Dreams about death. I already mentioned that we actively ask for death in every dream. For example, here the example with the car. There is, there's no driver. The wheel is sort of empty, and then you are sitting on the other side. So I would, if the dreamer doesn't tell me, I would definitely ask him or her, well, weren't you afraid to die? I mean, the car is driving alone, you could die. This is definitely something that we have to ask, we have to consider all the existentials. But there are really dreams where we actually really die. And here it's important to ask for the details. do you see blood? Do you see, the dead body? Because sometimes we assume that we are dead in a dream, but we are not dead in the dream. Sometimes we just hear about the death of somebody, but we don't know it for sure whether this person is really dead or not. So we have to go for the details, because mostly it turns out that this person is not dead in the dream at all. We just think, and of course the dreamer reacts with certain attunement, but this is interesting to analyze the attunement compared to the fact that it's not sure that the other person is dead, or even ourselves. Sometimes we dream that we die ourselves. And so here it's again important to ask, well, do you see yourself like through a camera? There are so-called camera dreams, where we don't live the dream ourselves, but we observe ourselves, like from a point of view from a camera. So do you see yourself dead, lying there dead on the floor, or do you just feel the pain? Do you feel like dying? Do you feel like not getting enough air to breathe? So these are important details, because we do believe that death is, as I mentioned already, is just changing the way of Dasein. I mean, in real death, Dasein is not Da anymore. It's as simple as it is. So, and this is what Dasein is afraid of, not to be Da anymore, to stop to exist. But in dreams, it's pretty much the same. So here, death means that there is an existential change in your Dasein, that there is the way of Da changes in your world. And this is really important to stress, because many people are afraid that a dream might be a prophecy. Many people believe that we can prophesize, see the future in our dreams, which we absolutely deny, of course. You say, no, that's here and now. That's what your dream is perfect description of how you feel right now. Not tomorrow, not yesterday, right now. So there is no prophecy at all. But many people are afraid of it. Does it mean that I will have to die? So no, it means that you're ready for some kind of change. And by the way, we don't use, of course, with our clients, these technical terms. We don't use, of course, the term existential or being towards death. So, of course, we are just asking questions to clarify the meaning of change here in dreams with death. One more point that I want to emphasize is intercultural dreams. This is a really interesting topic, because we often dream ourselves in a different country, in different culture, even speaking a different language. And this is what we always have to ask. Are you speaking your mother tongue in the dream, or are you speaking a different tongue, different language? That when we are traveling a lot, or maybe when we are living in a foreign country for some reason, then we start dreaming in the actual language of the country where we're living. So sometimes we forget about our mother tongue and dream in different languages. And this is so important to understand the world of the dreamer. In which culture does the dreamer live right now? Maybe tomorrow it will be a different language. I can dream today in English. Tomorrow I might be dreaming in Hungarian language. So this is important in terms of culture, because we do assume that culture is a part of the man-self, of the general self, of the inauthentic self. This is part of our being thrown. We didn't choose our mother tongue. This was given to us, during pregnancy. We heard our mother tongue. So we have the free choice to live according to our culture or not, to speak our mother tongue or not, to speak another language, whatever. But this is important to realize in dreams. So many dreamers look at me when I ask them, which language did you dream? And say, wow, of course, my mother tongue. Why are you asking? And then I do explain, that sometimes we live in different cultures with different beliefs in our mind, in our world, even if our actual life is like always. So the concept of culture, this has been published by Martin Heidegger as well, is important to understand that this does not determine us. And I think I I mentioned it initially that our thrownness does not determine our future life. It has some impact, it's had some influence, but we have the freedom to choose what parts of our culture we live or which one we don't live. Well, so the last topic for today are dreams about the therapist. I'm sure that you all had this experience when your client is dreaming of you. And this is maybe the biggest challenge. It seems so easy and so obvious, but it's not so easy at all for many reasons. So there are two possibilities. Either our client is dreaming of a therapist, or we are dreaming of our clients. So you have, we are, as a psychotherapist, we are not a neutral wall like Sigmund Freud. He thought that we have to be a mirror and just mirroring, the patient, and we are, as an individual, are not participating in the relationship. If we take serenity, the attitude of a psychotherapist, seriously, if we take seriously all the existentials that are true for me, of course, as well as a therapist, then we have to admit that, of course, our dreams of our clients are important as well. And if our client is dreaming of us, then it tells a lot about the psychotherapeutic relationship. And this is something that where we have to prove whether we are serene or not. Because mostly or sometimes it shows that the therapeutic relationship is not okay, that our relationship is not going well, that we are not open enough, that we are not authentic enough, that our client is afraid of us. And this is so important to encourage these dreams, because I recently had, in supervision, I had a dream. A colleague told me about this dream where the client dreamt about having sex with a therapist. And this is, of course, a very common phenomenon that clients fall in love with a therapist. This is very common, and this is something that we have to be open and we have to address it. If we notice that our client is falling in love with you, then we have to tell. We have to say, I noticed something. Is anything going wrong? Everything special? Because if we don't address it, we will notice it anyway, sooner or later in one of the dreams. And that is important, that our client knows that she or he has to be open, whatever comes and whatever shows. So the big challenge is for both. The client is sort of embarrassed that he is dreaming having sex with the therapist. And of course, the therapist is embarrassed because he realizes, maybe he might realize, that the therapeutic relationship is not going well. So this is important for us to take these dreams seriously and to ask ourselves, am I looking for the right phenomena? Maybe are my assumptions wrong? If there's something going wrong with my attitude towards the client. So reading dreams is not just the business of the client. This is something telling a lot about the therapeutic relationship. Of course, best case is that we can prove the success of therapy. This is beautiful. If you see in dreams that the client is opening up and is able to live authentically in dreams, so we can prove, look, psychotherapy is successful, look at the dream, this is a real success. That's best case. Worst case are dreams with a therapist where everything is going wrong. When the therapist in the dream is behaving ugly, is aggressive, or goes away or disappears, then you know that there is a huge problem with your therapeutic relationship. So to conclude, I started today with the uniqueness of Daseinsanalyse in terms of appreciating the 10 most important existentials that make us human, in terms of hermeneutic phenomenology and the hermeneutic circle, and the fact that we are looking for pure phenomena and nothing else, and the fact that the therapist has to be serene, completely open for everything that shows, even if it's negative for me, even if it's a criticism of my work, even if it's uncanny or scary for myself as well. I will not answer every question that the client is asking me about my private life, so this is not the topic of psychotherapy. But there are clients asking me, doctor, is it possible that you are afraid of something? Because they do hear it in my voice. Or is it possible that you are disappointed by this dream that I told you? And then I try to reply honestly, of course, yes, you're right. I might be disappointed or I might be scared for this or that reason. So we have to stay authentic ourselves, because the same amount of authenticity that we show our clients will be possible for the client as well. So we do believe that it's not possible for the client to become more authentic than the therapist. And so that's, again, the reason why we are so strict with teaching analysis, because we really want to have authentic and serene therapists. So let me please conclude with a dream. I just read the dream and don't tell you anything about it, and you decide whether you want to talk about this dream or whether you have important questions. We have 30 minutes left. So here is the dream that one of my clients recently had. A woman goes into a shop and wants to buy a watch. She is looking at the watches in detail in the shop. And suddenly she realizes that the watches don't have these digits. They don't have digits, It's just the watch, but without any digits inside. So she asks in the shop, please tell me, why do you sell these watches? They have no use because they have no digits. I cannot see how late it is. And then the businessman answers, such a woman as you does not need a watch with digits. She looks at him and realizes that this is her therapist. End of the dream. So I want to thank you all to be so patient, to listen here to a brief introduction into Daseinsanalytic reading of dreams. I would be very happy to have your questions. We have half an hour left. And thank you very much for being interested in Daseinsanalysis.
Thank you, Tamás. I'm interested in reading this dream that you mentioned. I don't know if anybody has a strict question from Tamás or anything like this, or we can read the dream. What do you think? What do you guys think? Okay, Gustavo? You decide. Okay, I was thinking about the dream that you brought us to read, and I don't know, when you mentioned the watch, I think about time. I don't know how this woman deals with time, and if it's not marked time, and the analyst says that you don't need a watch with this jiggles, I don't know the word. Maybe she has a problem with her age or something like this. I don't know. I was thinking more about this, the fact that she doesn't want the time to pass, that she doesn't want to count the time that has passed. She doesn't want to watch the time pass by. Well, I have this feeling, maybe. I don't know if it's a way to read the dream, but of course I would ask her more about how she related to time. She was alone, right, on the store.
Well, but there is the man, but there's the man who is selling the watches. So there are two people in the store, yes.
Two people, and it's a relation with the therapist, right?
Yes, and the other one is a therapist, which turns out in the end,
Okay, and I don't know how much I will discuss it, but I think that maybe you mentioned when a client dreams about the therapist, there's a problem in the relation, right?
It
I
might
don't know
be.
if it's,
Might be. No, it
it
might
might
be.
be.
Not
I
necessarily.
don't know.
It might be a sign of success. You know, a dream can be a sign of successful therapy as well. No, but the challenge. But this is not the challenge, because okay, it's a successful therapy. But the challenge is if you realize that things are not going well.
Okay. I don't know. How do you how do you add to this reading that I'm doing? I don't know if I'm doing right. I don't know if which questions would you make to her?
No, this is everything correct that you said, and this is. But I would maybe just illustrate the way that I'm asking my questions, and then we return to your assumptions. So when this is the first version, you know, that this was a female client that she told me. And then, as I mentioned, I'm going through the details. I'm asking about her age, of the obvious question, of course, it's about time. But yes, she was her age, right, as she is today. Actual age, about her clothes, how she's clothed, everything normal. I'm asking for whether it's winter time, you know, summertime, being in time. It was winter time. She had a coat, and it was cold in the shop. So it was not summertime with t-shirt, you know, but it was a cold winter day. But I'm asking for daylight. Is it dark outside? Is, you know, in terms of being in space, what do you realize from the space around you? Many people are not able to answer these questions. I have no idea whether it's day or daylight or night. I don't know, just don't know. But she knew that it was daylight, it was during daytime, it was during winter time, it was cold, she had a coat. She had her age. And good question, you asked me the question, are there other people in the store? So basically, we do assume the more people show up in the dream, the better, the more relationships you have. Of course, it depends whether they're authentic, or whether they threaten you like in the military, you know, they may be troops, you know, maybe with weapons and threatening you. But basically, it's good to have a lot of people around you. And of course, in terms of being with, it's not good if you're alone, like the dream of the car, you know, driving the car alone. However, at least there are two people, and she's not completely alone. But in terms of being with, I would already say that her existential of being with is a little bit limited. Her existential of being in space is fine, because she enters the door. And when I asked her, yes, she opened the door. So in terms of being open, you know, she's able to open the door. Sometimes people just are caught, you know, in the room and don't see any door. No, there's no door in this room. No, I promise you. No window, nothing. But in this dream, yeah, she goes into the store. There is a door, there are windows. So in terms of being open, that's pretty good. Of course, it would be better to have a wide store. It is a small store. It's just, you know, the man and the watches, and that's it. So it's a very tiny store. So in terms of being open, she's a little bit limited, but at least she has a door and the window. Being in space is the weather outside. Being in time is the winter time. Being in body was interesting because she didn't see her hands, because I asked her whether she is trying, you know, the watches, you know, you must see your hand, you know, to try the watches. But she was surprised with this question, said, no, doctor, yes, you're right. I didn't see no hands in the dream. And I asked her whether she felt her feet, you know, standing, because sometimes in dreams we are flying, you know. Many people tell me, no, I don't feel my feet. I was sort of just in vacuum, you know, flying in the air. No, but she felt her feet, but there were no hands at all. And in English, as far as I know, it's interesting because the term for the digit of a watch is the same term as the digit of a finger, you know. So, do you see pointer? I don't know. But however, it's the same word as for a finger. So that's why I was actively asking for her hands as well. Because, of course, with her hands, we can show somewhere as a phenomenon, you know. And of course, the digits of the watch also show us the time. So it was about the phenomenon of showing. So in terms of being in body, this was an interesting, and this is the first novelty that we encountered, that she has no hands and she's not able to show anything, which was true, by the way, for her entire life. So she was not able to define things in detail. She had a vague idea of what she wants, but she never was able to tell me her exact needs. Because I do ask people, well, what would you say? What are your needs in life? What do you need? What kind of relationship? What would you say are the most important needs that you have as a person? And she was not able to tell me. So to be honest, I have no idea what I need. And this was a good point with a finger to show her, look, you are not able to say what you need, but maybe you're looking for the wrong thing. Maybe you are looking for a watch, with the digits, but maybe this is true that you don't need this, what you're looking for. Maybe you are simply not able to tell me your needs because you're looking for the wrong ones. So this was the first message of the dream. And then, of course, in terms of being free, it was not too bad that she was able to walk in herself, in the store. And she was able to talk. Sometimes in dreams we are not able to talk with other people. So this was not too bad in terms of being free. In terms of being thrown, I asked her about her language, and she spoke German, her mother tongue, in the language. And yes, I did ask her about death, because I think you mentioned that with timelessness, so I asked her whether she had an association with death, and she said yes, definitely yes. She got scared. We were talking about the attunement, but as soon as she realized that there are watches without digits, she immediately was afraid that she is going to die. So when the time is over, when the time ends. When there is no time left. And this was her attunement. So this dream is not necessarily telling us something about death, but in her case, this was the point. She was extremely afraid of dying. And she was extremely afraid in the dream, in her attunement. However, her attunement at the beginning of the dream was extremely positive. It was like Christmas time. She told me, yeah, she wanted to buy a present, a beautiful watch, and she was like a child, happy to buy something new. And then her attunement changed when she realized that there are no digits. Then she got extremely scared, afraid of dying. And then when she realized that it was me, and this is the second message, her attunement, her feeling was being embarrassed. She was embarrassed to know that I realized as therapist that her watches have no digits. She was feeling guilty for the fact that there were no digits on the watch. So she felt, and this is what was negative for me, so sorry to say that, but she had the feeling that I'm controlling her, that she has got to be a good client, who is functioning, whose watches are functioning, She didn't want to be a deficient client who has watches that are broken. She was embarrassed, and at the moment when she told me that her attunement was embarrassment, I thought to myself, oh my God, that's something is going wrong. She should be happy to see me, or open, or say, okay, we can discuss it. Please help me. What should I do with all these watches? They are useless. This would have been a good reaction, But no, she was embarrassed that I realized that her watches are broken. And so this was an excellent opportunity to talk about the therapeutic relationship. And I told her, no, it's good that you're telling me. And then I'm asking myself, is there anything that I missed? And do you feel that you have to be a good client? And she said, yes, yes, I constantly have the feeling that I have to please you, and I have to show you that I'm advancing and I'm improving, and that therapy is helping me, but it isn't. And this was the beginning of success, because from that moment that she was able to tell me that psychotherapy is not helping her, she started to get healthy. And I told her, well, congratulations. As soon as you realize that psychotherapy doesn't help you, you're healthy. And this was indeed 10 sessions later, we finished the therapy, and it was a good story. But this was really a cutting point, you know, this dream, because she realized that she is allowed to show me, and this is what she realized for the first time in the dream. She realized that she is able to show me her broken watches. So this shows the importance of attunement, because with other attunements, you will have a completely different reading of the dream.
For sure. Thank you very much. Really clarifying things around here. I don't know if anyone has a question, but we are running almost out of time. But I would like to ask you, Tamás, how do you consider the therapeutic relationship? I don't know if you know Irvin Young. He really focused on therapeutic relationship. How often do you do this kind of exercise by asking how you are with your clients on your day-to-day Daseinsanalyse?
What do you mean by exercises? Did you say exercises? How do you ask me?
Not exercises, the therapeutic relationship. How often do you ask me about how you are with your client? Because on these dreams, you open the opportunity for heart. Yeah.
In waking life,
it's all about.
Yeah, in waking life, I don't actively ask. What I do is when I notice something, like when I notice that, for example, my client is angry or disappointed about my question or my answer, then I do ask, I have the feeling that you're disappointed by what I just said right now. Is that true? Or is it just my impression? Or are my feelings correct? Or on the other way around, but I don't ask, of course, the question, are you happy with the relationship? That's not what I'm asking. But what I do ask is if I notice, is it possible that you fell in love with me? This is what I would ask. So I have the impression, and I think we have to be authentic. And if not, then it's fine. Say, all right, you know, this was just my assumption. It was just my feeling, and I promise you to be authentic as you are. And this was my feeling. And if not, then it's fine as well. And of course, I used to tell when I'm getting bored, for example, you know, sometimes the therapist will get bored, and then I say, look, I don't tell my clients that I'm bored, but I'm telling them, look, I have the impression that we are not proceeding anymore, that there's nothing new happening, that we don't make advances. What is your impression? Do you think that we are improving? I don't have this feeling, and then mostly this is helpful, and mostly the clients agree, yes, you know, I'm awfully bored in your sessions, but I didn't dare to tell you. So I do ask about the therapeutic relationships, but not directly. Of course, I ask by all the things that I notice in my serenity.
Nice. Early on this seminar, you were telling us that we don't have to be philosophers to be a design analyst, right? And I'm wondering, what about Freud's work? How do you consider Freud works? Because he are the person who are first interested in dreams, right?
I would not agree. No, I don't think that he was the first one. I mean, of course, he wrote a lot of literature about it, and of course, he established modern dream analysis, but the importance of dreams you can read them in Kierkegaard, you know, in existential philosophers as well. But of course, Freud was maybe the first one who sort of clinical in hospitals applied dream analysis with patients. But I really don't think that you need to read any Freud to become a Daseinsanalyst. I think everybody should understand the importance of the couch in terms of the setting and the importance of dreams. But I do think that the importance of the couch is somewhat different in Daseinsanalysis than in psychoanalysis. So, of course, the free association that Freud was assuming is true, and this is what we do as well. We don't call it free association, but we might call it. But it's not necessary to read Freud to understand the couch. So I think Miles Groth used to say that it's impossible to teach Daseinsanalysis. It's only possible to learn it. You know, by talking about clients, by talking about practical examples, by discussing it, but it's not possible to teach it in terms of a dogmatic class like, you know, mathematics. So that's why I really want to focus on the practical part of the application of all these philosophical messages. And the messages are, in my opinion, quite simple to understand. You don't fully need to read all the basic works of these philosophers.
Yeah, on the last classes on the ADI program on Friday, you mentioned that to be Daseinsanalysis, it's a way of being, right? And I was wondering, if I can make you this question. What do you think that made a person not choose not choose to be? You know, I know it's not us that gonna define a person. You are not a design analyst. But I was wondering about this. What do you think that I know what can define to be open, to feel, to, you know, like a way of being. But what do you think, Tamás, that don't define a design analyst, or the things that you consider that can, I don't know, made you tell the people to not be a design analyst?
Good point. Yeah, thanks for this excellent question, because that's, yes, thank you for reminding me. As I always used to say that phenomenology is not a technique, but phenomenology is just the way that we approach the world, and not just in psychotherapy, but I approach my world privately with my family, with my children, with phenomenology as well. I think the answer to your question refers to the depth, you know, the ontologic depth that we are looking for in Daseinsanalysis, you know, the ontologic difference. We decide as Daseinsanalysts to look for the ontologic layer and not to remain on the superficial ontic layer, you know, of our life. And I really think that there are many people out there who are afraid of the ontologic layer, or just simply not interested in diving more deeply into our existence or our being. And these are the people that are not interested in Daseinsanalysis. I am sure that there are excellent psychotherapists outside that are not Daseinsanalysts. So I'm not saying that this is the only way of psychotherapy. But I do say that there are certain psychopathologies, certain problems that can only be solved by Daseinsanalysis. This is what I'm convinced. If the problem lies in a deeper level, on an existential level, then I think Daseinsanalysis is the only way to solve the problem in the long run. Of course, you can solve every problem in the short run with CBT, whatever technique you want to apply. But if you want to understand the existential reasons for your illness, then I think you will need a Daseinsanalysis. But there are many people out there, clients, who, because I'm really pretty frank, you know, at the very first session of Daseinsanalysis, I tell them, look, what I can promise you, we'll find the deep reasons for your problems, for your suffering. And they say, wow, this sounds good. Yes, we go for it. I say, but this takes pretty long time. And it might be painful at the beginning because you realize all your existential that are maybe not working well. And it's not the quickest way to solve your problems. And then, whoa, is it necessary? I really don't want to know everything about my deeper. I'm not sure whether I really want to know everything. And the same is true for psychotherapists. I think there are many psychotherapists who are not interested in deeper explanations. They're just interested in symptoms and in solving suffering, solving pathologic symptoms. And I think that's fair enough. I think we just have to be open and honest when we tell our clients what we are offering. And then everybody can, and also to future candidates who want to become psychotherapists, you know. So I'm also frank about that. If you want to become a psychotherapist that solves, you know, symptoms in 5 sessions, then please don't become a Daseinsanalyse candidate, because this is not going to work. You will not be able to solve symptoms in 5 sessions with Daseinsanalyse. And many people are telling me, all right, no, I'm not interested in Daseinsanalysis. I want a quick solution. So I think this is the answer to your question. I don't think that every human being has this approach to life, that every human being is interested in the pure phenomena. Many people love to live in the illusions that we have and love to live in the inauthentic world. And maybe they succeed a little bit to live authentically and don't get ill, you know. So I'm sure that most of the people are happy and completely healthy without ever knowing anything about the authentic possibilities. So I'm not saying that you need it necessarily to be happy or healthy. I think this is the answer to your question. So many people just don't want to dive so deeply into our existence.
Okay, nice. And as we were presenting, I remember Martin Luther King quote, "I have a dream," and I think dream is more related to life, you know, like and with these classes on ADI and also with your seminar, I think that I'm approaching dreams with a whole new perspective, and I know that people here are gonna do the same or thinking differently about the dreams and asking right on the first session about them and tell them to write down the dreams. And I think that this answer to people answered you when you asked something about the dreams, that I have no idea if I was this or that, if I had a hand or not. I think that we just add the question because people are just living and not feeling, or not, you know, what are the dreams? I expected it, not feeling, not listening, you know, not being present in the dream. And we are trying to, you know, by these questions, make them more connected with what just happened when they were sleeping, you know, because otherwise just past, and we are not dreaming. Okay. So we are closer to the end. Dr. Tamás, thanks so much for being here with us today. It was a pleasure to hear from you about dreams and learn more from you here and also on ADI program. Thank you so much for being here. People will see the recording on Instagram, on YouTube later, and you can share with everyone that you see fit. Thank you everybody for being here today. I don't know if Tamás has anything to say in this end, but
no, thank you. I'm really honored that you have invited me here. It was really great pleasure having you here and presenting these thoughts. And thank you for your questions. And as I mentioned initially, you are free to send me emails or on Instagram questions if there's any question that you have in future. So please don't forget to check out our Instagram site of ADI, our website for any news. And yes, and we'll be, of course, happy to have you in the future as our candidates at the American Daseinsanalise Institute. So don't hesitate to contact me if you have any further questions. And I wish you a beautiful evening in Brazil. And thank you for organizing this wonderful study group. So I really appreciate your work and your commitment towards Daseinsanalysis.
okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you everybody for being here today. See you on next webinar, okay? Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.